And she says out loud, Ryan. I was like, yes, Jeannie. She goes, I'm sorry, it's hilarious. And she goes, Ryan, your winky thing's crooked. Boy, I fell out the flow.
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I am your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading the show. I really appreciate that. Also want to say a big shout out to Claire. Thank you so much for buying me a coffee at the website, chewingthefatbr.com. It really helps me to stay motivated, keep the show going, and it shows me a little love, and I appreciate that. I'm really excited about my guest this week. I met him probably 15 years ago, just running sound for church down the street, and he opened up my eyes to a completely different world than I ever thought I would be a part of, and I'm so grateful to him. It's Ryan Abel.
Hey, what's up? What's
going on, Ryan?
Oh, man, it's like deja vu.
I know, right? I'm saying that because I forgot to hit the record button the first time.
That's not true.
It is. It is.
It's cool. Oh, got to keep some things in the background,
No, that's all right. This is an open forum. Everybody that listens understand. This is a place for real talk. And I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody.
I love it.
I hated that I forgot to hit the record button, but here we are.
It's all good. Now, they say, Keith Jenkins is in my band with Goin South, and he used to play with James Brown, and he would always say, son, first take's from God. Mm-hmm. Well, what's the second take from? Something else. So we on to something else.
We on to something else take. We are on to something else take. But as I said previously, that you people did not have a chance to hear, thank you so much. I've never officially thanked you in person for in introducing me to the Augusta players and the community and family that they have provided for me. Just theater as a whole. We were down at First Baptist Church, North Augusta. I was running sound. You were leading the
community worship band.
Community worship band at no a.m. in the morning. We was waking Jesus up on the way in.
Right.
And you invited me to come audition for Jekyll and Hyde, and it just changed my life. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that show. First off, you're welcome. I needed somebody to introduce me to the world as well. So, that was a great show.
Yeah.
Man, that show was loaded. We had a lot of fun doing that show. And unfortunately, that was like if you've seen The Big Short, that was during the housing crisis and the big turndown. And so it wasn't overly popular, in ticket sales. Like this show did like an incredibly terribly in ticket sales. Yeah. But anyone who saw it was like, oh my God, how amazing that show was.
Yeah.
They're all in cahoots. That was my one line I was really excited about. Jeannie Butler, musical director. I want to say, Richard was absolutely stage director for that show.
Yeah, Richard Justice did an amazing job. It was such a minimalist stage that he created, but there was so much that could be done with that. Of course, Washington Isaac Holmes was Jekyll and Hyde.
Right. The song where he sings a duet with himself.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Had the hair whipped back.
Right. Chris Bailey made the laboratory. He made that whole big thing that was so awesome, and a couple of special effects. I don't think they used one of them like with the potion, but I don't think they used the one where you could see himself in the mirror.
Right. And
it was supposed to be somehow like he was talking to Jekyll as Dr. he was talking to Hyde as Dr. Jekyll.
Right.
But they never, I don't think that, you know how tech weeks go sometimes, cut, didn't make it.
Yeah. It's like, there was supposed to be like a flash bang that was supposed to go off. Right. And of course we could never get clearance to actually have a pyro on the stage for the show. Because
I did pyro in one show with the players when they did, and pyro is a very loose term. But when we did Wizard of Oz, the red smoke was technically a little poof, like little firework that went off in this little contraption. That was one of my things. And Wizard of Oz was awesome. I hated that show.
Okay.
If I would have watched it, I would have loved it. But I hated it because I was in the back. Mm-hmm. But the cool part was I got to do the smoke every time Betty Walpert showed up as the Wicked Witch of the West. And I got to work the tornado.
Oh, wow.
I was the one moving the tornado. That was really fun. But I had to also hold up those stupid cornfields forever. And that was miserable.
Now, was this one of the times were you a Winky also with all that green paint on your face?
Okay, so in this particular show, I went from an Ozian to, because they show up and then they get all cleaned up. Oh no, excuse me. At first I was a tree behind Eddie Renew. So me and Wes and I want to say Penn Chance were the trees, and we were throwing the apples at. And the one I did at Eddie was Eddie was what's his name? The Tin Man.
The Tin Man.
Golly, I was trying to call him the Lumberjack, and that was not right. The Tin Man. And the one that I was in, Melissa Canis, now Melissa Mold, was Dorothy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to do that. And then I had to go wash all that brown tree mess off my face and become an Ozian for when they made it to Oz. And then we clean them all, the one of our land of Oz, all that jazz. And then I had to become a Winky and put all this green stuff on my face and then wipe it all off again immediately and become an Ozian again for the goodbye.
Wow.
All in one show.
Yeah.
But I will say that the best That's What She Said of all time happened during that show, because we were on stage, and if you've never been in a theater, a lot of times there are holds or stops because once you get in the theater, it's really about the tech. It's not about you. Yep. Your stuff needs to be done. Mm-hmm. So the tech didn't go right. It was a hold, for anybody's hold, Debbie, can we hold? Mm-hmm. It was one of those. And we were in a rush. We're trying our stuff. We're trying to put the Winky costumes on, and it was just a hold. And Jeannie Butler was the musical director. I don't know. She might not have been the director, but she was in the pit. She was either playing or the musical director. I can't remember. And she says out loud, "Ryan." I was like, "Yes, Jeannie." She goes, "I'm sorry, it's hilarious." And she goes, "Ryan, your Winky thing's crooked." Boy, I fell out the flow. I mean, and the whole room is like, dang. Now this is like 2008 or 9. I don't even know if the office is around yet. So I don't know if that was That's What She Said was said, but it was just kind of like, oh, you should rethink that thought process.
Did you hear that as you said that? Yeah.
Yeah, man. My face though was so raw from putting that makeup on, pulling it off, putting it on, putting it on. I mean, it was miserable. That was more difficult makeup wise than being Shrek. Oh, wow. For crying out loud. That's how hard that was. That's like, it was on my skin.
Well, I mean, I guess because with Shrek, you were Shrek and that's it.
Right. It took like 2.5 hours to become Shrek with the lovely, the talented BB Ballas-Kent.
Yeah.
Shout out BB. Mm. But man, yeah, that was a process, bro. I had to show up at like 4:00 just to be ready for 7:30, to be done. It was rough. And it's so hot.
But that was such a great show.
Oh, we had a blast. I mean, our dressing room had a blast. Me, Mike, and Antonio.
Some great costuming in that. Great performances. That's the thing about Augusta is there's such just stellar talent that is in this town.
Oh yeah,
that comes and does these shows. You talk about it being community theater, but it's like community theater plus because I've heard from other. Like stage directors and folks that have come to some of the Augusta Players shows that we do better than stuff they've seen on tour.
Right.
As far as like the talent level and the commitment.
Well, especially when you get to a level of where like a show like Shrek or a show like Les Mis or Jekyll and Hyde or Beauty and the Beast, where you have principal level actors who just want to be in it. Yeah. And don't care. So you have like when we did Shrek, you had John Hutchins as Papa Bear. Mm-hmm. You had Amy Patton as Mama Bear. Mm-hmm. Both of those have played leads in multiple shows. Mm-hmm. You have Paul Jones, Rebecca Bruni, Casey Johnson. I mean, all these people have played not just principal roles, but lead roles.
Right.
And they're just in the ensemble. Right. Eddie Renew.
Yeah.
I mean, that list can go on and on. Devin Moody. Chelsea Essigman, now Chelsea Mahoney. Yeah. I mean, all those Kathleen Pierre, all those people have had lead experience.
Right.
And you throw them in this ensemble so you get that level of experience and commitment.
Yeah.
Into us, and there's no small roles, there's only small actors, and they make it huge, you know?
Yeah.
It was, man, that show was crazy, and in that show, you had me and Mike Sleeper playing two of the bigger roles, me playing the title lead. And of course, Antonio was the steal of the show. He was amazing.
Of course.
But you had me and Mike and Kirsten, Kirsten had grown up with it playing, Fiona, but me and Mike had never been a lead like that before. Mm-hmm. We'd never been at that level. So it was like let's see if they can do it.
Yeah.
And we were driven by the cast that we had because we knew that cast was so damn good. Mm-hmm. We were like, well, we ain't gonna be the ones that ruins this damn show. We're gonna make sure we're right.
Right.
And that show was a lot of fun. Richard had a lot of fun with that show, and it was a lot of fun doing that show. And But I mean, you're talking about when we did Les Mis, you had people who have lead experience just being a part of, Thenardier's gang, Dave Belmer, Greg Goodwin. These are people who've played like leading roles,
right?
Who are like, we'll be in 4 scenes. Just let us be in the show.
Just let us be in the show. Yeah.
It's great. Nicole, right now, who's going to be playing the lead in Young Frankenstein.
Yeah.
She was just a normal lady in that show in Les Mis. She was just one of the lovely ladies.
It's funny during that time. So I wasn't in the Players presentation of.
Oh, you were in?
I
was
at
Le
Chat. So it was one of those weird things. The rights went out, and the Players and Le Chat both,
crazy, right?
Yeah, had the rights to the show, and they ended up doing it the same time, basically.
No, not basically. Like, y'all opened the week before we did, but we both ran on y'all's second weekend.
Right.
It was wild. I went to that production, and it was to y'all's performance.
Yes.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, completely different take, completely different moment, and how you had to do everything.
Yeah, because Le Chat is a 100-person black box theater. We had the turntable in the floor, and whereas you're in the Imperial.
Right.
Where you've got all that room.
A 30 by 40 foot stage.
Yeah, to move around.
The stage at the Imperial is the size of the entire theater at Le Chat Noir.
Yeah,
almost,
I mean, from space 1 to space 3, it's that size. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but man, some of the things Chris did in that show, Chris Bailey was the director of that show, were genius. When he had Fontaine on the upper level with Melissa when she was Fontaine, and she dies as the little girl Cosette's playing with a doll, and how it's blue. That was gorgeously done. And then of course Ernie Williamson, man, oh man, how good he was. Yeah. And then of course Brandon Bruni, huge powerhouse vocalist, as your Javert. Yeah, there was no step back in that show. It was very, very well done. And then I thought Bailey's always been really cute with a lot of like putting gags in. So like him being Thenardier made a lot of sense, and a lot of the foolish things that they were worked into that. It was a lot of fun watching. So
yeah, it was a great production. And y'all's production was great as well. But again, it was the same storyline, but it was 2 completely different shows. Right. Both amazing. And that's the thing with this town. It's not just the Players. It's Le Chat Noir. It's the Fort Gordon Dinner Theater. It's Riverfront Theater Company. It's Aiken Community Theater. There's such a great pool of talent in this town. And
no doubt.
And if anybody ever has had the itch to want to get up on stage, there's opportunities for you. You talked about Young Frankenstein. That's going to be the next show that's coming up for the Augusta Players. But I know, actually, I think it's this weekend is auditions for Elf.
It was it's the 11th.
Right. Yeah,
so Saturday.
That's this Saturday.
Callbacks to the 12th if you get that.
So if you want to do something, for the holidays with your family or whatever, go audition. Check out, AugustaPlayers.com or .org, AugustaPlayers.org, and check out their audition page. Check out Le Chat Noir, Fort Gordon Dinner Theater, Riverfront and Aiken. There's a place for you there, and it's such a welcoming and warm community. Like I said, when I came back into town from being in Birmingham for a few years, and that was a commitment I had to myself, because I kind of reignited that fire of being on stage while I was out of town. And I was like, I need to find where I can do that. And the Players community was so warm and welcoming to this outsider, this like person that nobody knew other than you. I was riding on your coattails and your word, to come in, and I sang a terrible rendition of If I Were a Rich Man for my audition. I
remember watching it. I got to watch it because for some reason I was in the room.
Yeah.
Because you came in, also your buddy who was it Dale?
Dale, yeah.
Yeah, Dale came as well, yeah.
Dale came. And Dale told me the whole time, he's like, I'm not a singer. I was like, well, just come in, we'll try. Because I
needed a buddy.
I needed a buddy. I needed somebody there with me. I needed a buddy. And it was a horrendous version of it for a rich man, but they call me, like you said, it's like if you're a guy,
yeah, hey man,
you can pretty much get into the ensemble because it's
that's one of my favorite things about being in theater is I used to have, and I still do, and now that I'm the executive and artistic director of Riverfront Theater Company, it's kind of like has brought on a whole new level to it. But I used to love sitting down and looking at friends and being like, you know what, so and so would be good. I'm gonna talk him into it. I'm gonna talk her into it, and try and find, like I did the same thing for Zach Swinson. Zach Swinson was, is a drummer for Number 9. He was in a band called the Edison Project. Now is the vice president of Casio advertising firm. But we were doing Bat Boy at Le Chat Noir, and Richard calls me and he was like, I need I need the antagonist. I need the guy that everyone's saying. I was like, I got just the guy. and he was like, who? And I was like, his name's Zach Swinson, and he's the most lovable person on the planet. But man, he just knows how to spin that screw just enough to make you go, stop it, you know? And he's like, oh, I want to hear him. And I was like, okay. So I call him, and at the time that, you know, he was just going through a different life things. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. Hell yeah. I need something to dive into. I was like, come on. So we get him in there. He has a terrible audition. And I remember Richard asking me after, he was like, Ryan, I don't know. And I was like, I'm telling you, Richard, he was just nervous as hell. He's never done anything like this before. You know, he is the guy you want. He will pull off that piece of crap you need him to pull off, and he will pull it off flawlessly. And he did. He was great. He was absolutely amazing. And in that show was when Ed Turner came to see him perform, Ed and Cheryl Jolly, or Ed Turner and Cheryl Jolly, who Cheryl was on the board at the Le Chat Noir. And that's how Ed found out that Zach Swinson played drums.
Oh, wow.
And that's what got Ed Turner and Zach Swinson going together, number 9.
That's crazy.
Bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam.
Man, you just hooking people all up.
Well, but people have hooked me up. You know, Mark Powers got me into the game. You know, Mark Powers brought me in kicking and screaming. I didn't want to be here. Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, about 2006, I was done with that. I played football. I loved, you know, rock and roll and football. And I didn't want to do that gay goth stuff, which is what people thought. Like in North Augusta, like the kids that grew up doing theater, they were the weirdos. They were the outcasts. You know, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you that's, as an 18-year-old idiot, that's what we thought.
Right.
And, you know, he pulled me into it. And then by the end of the second rehearsal, I was like banging on Richard's quite literal door on West Ave. Not going to give you the address, but on West Ave going, I'll be anything.
Yeah.
Put me in whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'll wear a dress. I don't care. You know, I mean, I was all the way in. And to go from that guy who doesn't want to be around any of those gay guys, and because they're going to hit on me, of course,
right?
As every male idiot thinks. You know, we're just so egotistical, men. But you go from that level all the way to, you know, now I've done shows at Le Chat Noir where I've completely gotten butt naked on stage.
Yeah, yeah, I had pictures of that. I would not like weird. I was actually asked to be the photographer for that show. It wasn't like I just
Rob's over there snapping a little you know. Yeah, but he'd have to have a good zoom lens for me, but and I was standing beside Antonio, so let's be honest, I was not the star of that show. But you know, just to where like I've gone through that, and then, you know, I've played Jake in Evil Dead. I've played, you know, Shrek on the stage at the Imperial. I got my first principal opportunity in my third show ever as Miles Gloriosus in Something Happened on the Way to the Forum. Oh wow! And, you know, but my first main stage with the Players, I was Roger in Grease. But, you know, my first real performance that I felt like, not that, and I don't want to say I've made it, because I mean, we're all, you know, community, we're all family, right? But like, I really was super proud of and had to work my ass off to get it, was when I got to play Cellophane, Amos Hart in Chicago. Wow! And when I nailed that son of a gun at the show, and the audience went nuts. Yeah. And then to hold it together and go, I hope I didn't take up too much of your time, and walk off. Right. And to see my friend Eddie Renew, who was in drag in that show, you know, ready to give me, so proud and ready to give me the biggest hug, because he knew how hard I'd worked. And man, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Again, you know, it's, you know, Richard Justice, man, was the guy for me. Yeah. And, you know, it's, you know, I take it personally now to carry on his legacy. Absolutely. Absolutely. He, I mean, he gave me the opportunity to be in a bucket list role that I had in William Morris Barfay, 25th, you know, annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. Yeah. He was not the original director for that show. We got blessed by having Richard direct that show. We got blessed by me literally going to his house and being like, please, begging, please, Terrence, please talk him into doing this, because Terrence was like, I want him to do it, and I was like, talk him into it. And so Richard was finally, he was just like, okay, fine, you know, leave me alone. Right. So we'll see you at rehearsal on Monday. Yes, leave a book. And I was like, okay. So I left the book, and then he showed up on Monday, and thank God he did. You know, we would have been in some trouble with that show, and you know, that was a lot of fun. Yeah. Great show. And for being an ensemble cast that was just stacked full of great talent. Right. Yeah. That show was a lot of fun. You know, Amy Miller was Marcy Park. Karen Brotherton was she in that show? Never mind. Oh, Amy. That was the inside joke for anyone else listening other than the other 6 people in that show. Right. what's your name, Mary? You know, I'll never forget in that show when we were rehearsing. It was the end of the night. We were 9 o'clock. We were at North Augusta High School's auditorium, and even when you're rehearsing, when you're doing something you love, you get tired. You know, and it's like 9 o'clock, 9:30. We're counting down the minutes where we're about to leave, and Richard made us do this big number, Pandemonium again. And Chelsea turns, I was like, I hate you, Richard. And Richard turns around, well, you know what? I hate you too. And we all just erupt into laughter. And he was like, but you're still doing the number from the top. And we're like, okay, now that was like the little pick me up we needed to get really energized. Yeah. And we went, did a great show. And man, that was a lot of fun. Who else? Warren was in that show. Warren Post was in that show. Tom Reed.
Tom Reed was in there.
Yeah.
You mentioned Karen Brotherton.
Rebecca Bearden was Rebecca Bearden Robeson was the principal, or no, what was her name? Like Mona Peretti.
Rona Lisa Peretti.
Rona Lisa Peretti. There you go.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I haven't looked at the script in a while. So.
Yeah. And
of course, I was again the comfort counselor.
Yeah, Mitch Mahoney.
Both times I auditioned for that. That's another thing to keep in mind, young kids, if you're ever going out for shows. Sometimes you have a role in mind, and the director will cast you in a completely different role that you never even thought of. And the first time I went out for that show, I wanted Punch because I wanted to be the comedic, just had to sing, Yeah. And then I get cast as the Mitch Mahoney role. When I went the first time I played Ghost of Christmas Present in Christmas Carol, of the 7 times I did that, I was actually just going out for Fezziwig. I was like, I just want to be Fezziwig. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. And Debbie called me and she was like, I hear you, but you're going to be Fezziwig. Congratulations. But also, can you clear some of these conflicts up? Because I want you to be Ghost of Christmas Present. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And then, had a lot of fun doing those roles so many times.
And I think I've done 5 or 6, maybe out of the 10 or 11 times that show's on. I was the Beatle. I was the one opening the show, ringing that bell. I remember one time we opened the show and the clapper fell off the bell, went right into the orchestra pit.
Went right in the pit. You could probably get about 6 of us together and we could do that entire show.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm talking other roles and everything because so many of us
changes everything.
Yeah, we could probably pull it off. Because a large bit of that, except for maybe the kids. The kids might be the only part we couldn't pull off. We would need a kid that could play all of them.
Right.
Just get Deborah to play Tiny Tim, Martha, all of them.
All of them in the angel choir at the end.
Right.
Yeah.
Stack her voice.
That's right. Great shows, great memories though. But you're not just on stage in theater.
No.
You do a little singing on the side with a couple of bands of your own. I know you sang with Ed Turner and Number 9 for a long while.
7 years, yeah.
You've kind of stepped away, give somebody else a chance to do that for a while because you're concentrating on Goin South.
Right.
All right. So tell me more about Goin South because it's not just a band.
Right. Yeah. Goin South. It technically is Goin South Entertainment.
Is it entertaining?
I hope so. If not, there's going to be a bunch of pissed off people tomorrow night. We basically when we sat down, I was looking for a show idea. Like I had this urge to kind of not break away from Number 9, but to kind of do my own thing. Cause it's, sometimes it's hard to be in another band where you don't have the complete control or whatever, however you want to look at that. But so I was looking for an idea and then, I had a friend of mine who called me and was like, hey, let's go see this Marshall Tucker. They're coming to the Miller. I was like, all right, let's go. So we went and they were dreadful. I mean, it was bad. Like I left after the 6th song. I was like, I paid $40 for this ticket. And I'm upset.
Wow.
And as I'm walking out, and I don't know who this lady is, but I know that I know her. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens sometimes. She might have been a Number 9 fan or something like that. She goes, Ryan. I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, this is bad. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty bad. I was like, we're leaving. And she goes, you ought to do this. Put a band together. And I said, haha, yeah, I'm good. I'm busy. I walked out. Right. I started thinking about that next day. I was like, damn, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So the original idea was Goin South Entertainment presents Goin South, a tribute to Southern rock. The original plan was to do a tribute to Southern music and art.
Okay.
And culture. Is what I wanted to do at first, but I stayed away from the culture because of the tumultuous times that we're in. Some of that culture is not the best historically, but the music and the art, is. I mean, Jim Harrison. There's a lot of other artists. Jim Harrison is the first one to come to my mind because he's from South Carolina.
Right.
But we were going to pair all that with art. And it ended up working. The first show we did it because April Henry, a local April Henry King, local artist, painted a picture of our good friend Philip Lee, who ended up passing away during that project. and we were able to, raffle that off. And so that was our spin on the art.
Okay.
And so, but, to go back, we had just done a show with Philip at the, at Sky City for the MTV Unplugged tribute. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I don't want to just do Marshall Tucker. I want to do a whole genre like that. Mm-hmm. So we did Southern rock and roll. There was only one person I knew that could call to make that happen. It was Keith Jenkins, who was the former band leader for James Brown. Mm-hmm. We had been in bands previously before. And he was like, man, I don't know. That's a big lift. And I said, I'll pay you $1,000 guaranteed. And he said, when are we going to start? And it was a big risk. Like, I had to call my dad. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'll be straight up and down honest with you. I called my dad and I said, Dad, I got this big idea. And to pull it off, I'm going to be on the hook for a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I need to know that if it goes south, you got my back. Right. And I'm not going to go $15,000 in debt. Right. And he said, I got you back. He says, if it goes south, I got you back. And I said, all right, you the man. So then I, put together a band, gave them guarantees, had to rent the Miller Theater. I mean, to pull a show off at the Miller Theater cost about $17,000.
Wow.
Went around and got sponsors. Couldn't do this. I swear to, I tell everybody, I could not do this without Rick and Amy Donaldson at, Mass Media Marketing, M3 Agency. Mm-hmm. I went to them hat in hand and said, I need a title sponsor for this show. And Rick was like, I'll do it. And I was like, man, it's going to be X amount of money. He was like, yeah, I don't care. I'll do it. And I'll do all your print for free. Wow. As another piece. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can pull this off. And then I went to the Whiskey Boys down there, Whiskey Bar. And I was like, guys, y'all want in? They were like, hell yeah, we want in. Mm-hmm. So now I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, now this is looking doable.
Right.
Now I can, write all this down. And so, and you found a couple other sponsors, bada bing, bada boom. We were able to raise about $20,000 over 3 shows for the Camp Wonderland.
Yeah.
With the Augusta Players, and about another $2,500 for another cancer prevention and like helping families with cancer, like pay bills and stuff, what Joe Stevenson did. Mm-hmm. So, able to raise a good bit of money. This year, we're switching gears. We're switching off of Camp Wonderland. We're doing a show this year. It's going to be tomorrow night, September the 10th at Miller Theater. Doors at 6, rock and roll at 7. Mm-hmm. We'll go on about 8:30, but they're 2 local bands. But this year we're doing it for I'm Aware, which is a nonprofit based in here in Augusta, Georgia, but they also have a sister nonprofit in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And their focus is on sex trafficking, human trafficking prevention, and awareness. They provide training for local law enforcement to try and spot, to know where to go, who to call, how to get this lady help, or this young lady help in a lot of cases, or boy, unfortunately. And, sex trafficking is very prevalent. People like to sweep it under the rug and act like it doesn't exist because it's easier to kind of live our lives without thinking that that's going on, but it's going on, and it's going on here. Yeah. It's not like it's not like in Taken where they took everybody to like Albania or to France. This happened in Augusta, Georgia. Right. So, trying to bring prevention, and some education to that and awareness to that, and hopefully trying to ultimately build a safe house in this area that will be obviously unknown. But
right. Yeah. Now, was that something that was always part of the plan for Goin South? Is it wasn't to be put some money in Ryan's pocket. It's to help this community. It's to help causes that are in this town. Every time we've ever done a show, there's either been a promoted benefactor or a private benefactor. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, like we've done 2 or 3 shows with other promoters who just called us and say, hey, we want you to come. Okay, well, it's X amount of money. Mm-hmm. And then I just write in a little percent, 10% of that. Always at least 10% of everything we make goes to a charity. Mm-hmm. And some of that's gone to the Augusta Players over time. Some of that's gone to other charities. Mm-hmm. I'm Aware was kind of a love child of Philip Lee and I's because our friend Elizabeth Smith Zoka is the founder. Mm-hmm. And we were all close friends from downtown and growing up doing, dumb things together. And, this was her passion. And so, she asked Philip and I to play at one of her benefits, 5-6 years ago. Yeah. And okay, let's do it. And now a lot of people don't know this, but we always do a thing called family reunion around Philip's birthday and around Philip's day that he took his life. Mm-hmm. And we don't publicize it. We don't make a big to-do. It's not about that. It's about supporting this charity that both Philip and I love, but especially Philip. Mm-hmm. And it was a belief that we had that people are not to be treated as property. Yeah. And so we just, for those who know that that's what it's about, our friends, the family reunion that comes in, it's usually like local bands. We all play for free. Mm-hmm.
it's about our camaraderie and having fellowship together and, remembering Philip in that way. Yeah. And we were helping a charity that he loved and that he wanted to help. So, this year kind of up the ante. Those are normally at Metro. This year we're taking it to the Miller. A little bit different feel this year, but it's still Family Reunion Volume 4. So this is the fourth one. And then we'll have another one in January around his birthday on the 10th.
Okay. One question I did want to ask you about the Goin South concert. Are you guys doing any COVID precautions, or is that kind of just up to the individual, or what?
Right. Well, obviously it's up to the individual. I mean, if the individual wants to roll up in there in a hazmat suit, that's cool. Okay. Not to make light of it, but I'm just saying you could do whatever you want. We will be providing masks and hand sanitizer, but they're not required. Mm-hmm. Nor are they going to be like forced on you. It's going to be a simple, would you like them? It's like, think of like, a waitress or a waiter walking around during a cocktail party with hors d'oeuvres. Mm-hmm. If you want to grab one, grab one. If you don't, just say, no, thank you, and move on by your day. Everyone at the Miller is vaxxed, from like their staff. So that's good. A lot of us in the band are vaxxed. Not saying one way or the other on that. I'll let everybody else argue about that crap. But it's an interesting situation that we're all in right now, because it's like, for me, I want to be smart and I want to be, wise and do the right thing. But at the same time, you don't want to punish those who have vaccinated themselves that, we're going to have to cancel the show because it's so bad. And then you don't want to protect those who don't want your protection. Right. I'm not vaccinated. I'm not gonna. Don't you dare cancel the show. At the same time, so it's a weird time, man, but we are offering some precautions. And in that regard, security won't let anybody up near the stage because of those things. And other than that, I mean, take care of yourselves, be smart, make your own decisions. You're all grown-ups, so I made mine. You make yours. Come on out,
Goin South, hear some amazing music, help a great cause. Yeah. What's the set list looking like? I don't know. Are you one of these folks who don't want to give out the set list?
I'll give pieces. I'll give little nuggets. I'll give a little taste.
Out of order, in no particular order.
We're doing some. This show this is our fourth big show that we've done at the Miller. So we've committed to not doing any. We're only doing one song that we've done before. So, we wanted to make sure that the people, because a lot of the fans or the people who come to our shows come to all of them. They've been to all of them. And as good as we play That Smell, and as good as we play Saturday, Night Special or, Whipping Post, they heard it. There's other tracks. There's other things to play. So we're starting to push away from, like I was saying earlier, we're going to throw a little dabble in that. We're going to test the market a little bit and see if there's any response. Now there are horns in this show. That's a new thing. There's never been horns before, and there are horns now.
As a trumpet player, that makes my heart sing right there.
Yeah, I got Fabio Mann coming on trumpet. Steve Pruitt's going to be on the trombone, and the right good Dr. Rob Foster is going to be on the saxophone. Now Rob's one of those been with us before, playing flute, on the Marshall Tucker stuff, and some saxophone and some other things. So
who's the rest of the band?
So you've got Keith Jenkins as the band leader, and he was with James Brown for about 10 years. You've got Grady Nickel, formerly of Horsepower and a bunch of other bands. He also plays in Scarlet Begonias now. He's one of our lead guitarists. We got Ronnie Hill, who's been around for a long time. He's in number 9. He is in number 9, formerly with me, but now he's just still in number 9. Yeah. He's also been in a lot of bands, through time. We got Russell Rock Jarrett on the drums. He's been around since People Who Must, if you know those names. Yeah. He was a drummer with Joe Stevenson and People Who Must. Yeah. And then Brooks Andrews is the bass player. And he's in Kenny George band. He's playing in bands with me and, me and Beta-Me and, Jack Daniels Day Lewis and Famous Last Words and things like that. And then Caleb Wilkerson is the piano player, and he's been a couple of bands around, but he's kind of a younger cat, but he has the best beard in the band by far.
Yes, he does.
And he's a great player. And then our the two Peachettes, our backup singers, are J.C. Ward and Brooke Lundy, both accomplished vocalists and performers on their own.
That's awesome.
And we got a couple of special guests. Well, we got one specific special guest that I'll go ahead and give this. This is going to be the only person that hears it. The people who listen to this show will be the only people knowing this is going down until tomorrow night. All right. Michael Beta-Me is going to be there. Okay. And so Beta-Me in the past has been with us. He took the last couple of shows off, going through some things, getting his life right and getting his mind right. And now he's back. He's going to be sitting in on about 5 or 6 songs.
That's so cool.
So it'll be a lot of fun.
Man, you know what's funny? You talk about small world. So Caleb Wilkerson, He is the son of my former youth pastor, Tony Wilkerson, rest in peace. And so I've known Caleb since he was a child. Yeah. And when you talk about working with, Ed Turner, I worked with Ed Turner, Mad Music Asylum back at 96 RXR days,
right?
Where my first, foray into radio,
right?
But that's we talk about that small community that we're in, and the talent of the folks that are here.
Right.
You just can't, you throw a rock and you're going to hit somebody talented that can sing, play an instrument, get up on stage, act or something like that.
Yeah. Keith always jokes about that because, he's like, we've had like a couple people leave the band and, fill the holes. And he's just like, what do you have? Just a never ending roster of people just, in your Rolodex, that'll tell you how old Keith is. Uncle Keith, love you. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. I'm just a networker by nature. You talk about Caleb's dad. What was his name? Tony?
Tony. Yeah.
So Caleb is one of the best people I know. Great man. He's a beautiful man, as a new father.
Yeah.
And, this will tell you about Caleb Wilkerson and how committed and loyal he is. We're setting up for a gig. He gets the phone call that his dad passed. We had a concert that night.
Oh, wow.
Goin South did in North Augusta because it was early November.
Yeah.
And he just has that moment. He's on the phone. His face just goes white. I'm like, dude, what's going on? Like, you okay? He's like, dude, my dad just passed away. I was like, get the hell out of here. Don't worry about none of this. We'll pack your stuff up, go be with your family, go. Cause like I have my dad's still here. And so like, when I think about like how that, I would be done. Right. He's like, I'm okay. And I was like, I hear you, but get the hell out of here. Go be okay with your mom and your sisters. Or,
right.
I don't know if you have any brothers. And he was like, I'm going to go see my mom. So somebody sound check my keys. I'll be back. And I'm like, you're not coming back. That joker was back. And he played that show that night. He's like, dude, he looked at me right in the face. He's like, my dad was a musician. Yep. My dad would be pissed if I didn't play this gig. Yep. He said, he's like, I might make some mistakes. He said, but I'm going to play. Yeah. And I was like, right on, bro. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go rock.
Tony was he was a music minister and he was the youth leader at my church growing up. But beautiful singing voice. And then he played trombone too. So, he knew what it was like to be able to be there, and he instilled some great lessons in his kids for sure.
Yeah, Caleb's a great guy.
Yeah. Now, do you do Goin South like concerts or benefits in between?
You don't want to oversaturate your brand. It's Goin South. There's a lot there. There's a lot of Southern rock there, and we're starting to, a little secret here for everybody. We're starting to branch out a little bit and going to be doing a little bit, more Southern music as opposed to Southern rock.
Okay.
We've got some stuff that are going to be announced here soon. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that yet, but, going to be diving into some more Southern soul, Southern blues, and then just Southern music that's not quote unquote Southern rock, like REM, Tom Petty, stuff like, Graham Parsons, things like that are Southern, but they're not really Southern rock.
B-52s.
B-52s are another example. Outcast. I ain't scared. All the Atlanta Goody Mob, all that up in there. Yes. I'm not afraid of any of it. Yeah. So, we're starting to branch out into that slowly but surely.
Okay. That's awesome. That just, again, it just gives you more ways to reach more people. Right. That in turn will be able to feed into the cause that you're trying to support too. Right. Because you talk about sex trafficking, it isn't only people who listen to rock and roll. It didn't, it's something that can affect anyone, it is, and like you said, it's something that's going on that people don't want to, that doesn't happen in my town. That always happens over there or over there. And it's like, what was it? Just a couple of months ago, there was a huge sex trafficking ring that was busted. Yep. Right up the road, so, I think that's great.
There's been, Elizabeth keeps me updated whenever there's someone who's rescued. They call it rescue. Yeah. And there was one probably about 2 weeks ago on Gordon Highway.
Oh, wow.
Where, this police officer saw the signs, understood the training that I'm aware had provided to Richmond County and took action. And made it happen, and they were able to rescue that young girl.
That's awesome.
Again, obviously sex trafficking, unfortunately, follows big sporting events because that's where a lot of rich men are. And again, we've established that men are terrible sometimes. Yeah. So when we have the Masters, it's horrible. This is probably one of the top 10 hot spots when the Masters is here. which is wild to think about, right?
Yeah.
But you think, tens of 20s of 30s of thousands of people fly here. They're here all week. They've got these safe houses, these hospitality houses. I mean, how easy is it to fly? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's bad. It's horrific. And it's hard to think of these young people, these young girls, these young boys as like a service. But there are people who look at them as property and would rent them out just as easy as they'd rent out a caterer, which is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
To people who have humanity.
Yeah.
But these people it's bad. And that's real. That's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you think sex trafficking is something that only happens in Europe or at hostels or something, you need to wake the hell up.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately it's happening right here in Augusta and North Augusta and Belvedere, and any little town you think doesn't have it, it can have it.
All right, Ryan, this is the time in the show we'd like to dive a little bit deeper into you.
Okay.
As someone myself who has dealt with and deals with depression, it's one of those things that you may not be able to tell from the outside or a lot of people. You just never know what's going on the inside. But, I would assume as a performer, as an artist, you've got to have days that you might deal with some self-doubt, some anxiety, depression, whatever you want to call it. But what do you do to stay positive and to keep the dark at bay?
That's a really good question. For me, it kind of starts with my mindset. So I do suffer from anxiety, and I don't want to loosely throw the word depression out there. I think I've had bouts of it, but to say that I struggle with it consistently is not accurate. But it's always like deep back in the mind that it's there, and I don't want to get there again, And so one of the things that I like to do is if I start, a lot of my anxiety comes from my size. And not like, oh man, does that girl think I'm fat? Like, I don't care about that, but like, but like that inner, like I know I'm not the healthiest person in the world, and I don't make the healthiest choices. So like I get like, I don't want to say paranoid, but like all right, listen, I've been acting a fool here lately. I've been eating too much bad food. Let me get right for a little while. And it's crazy how much, eating, fruits and vegetables and not like buttering them all up, will make you feel, a little bit better, Right. So I'll try and do that. That's one of the things. Try and stay busy. For me, like staying busy is where, if I got something if I'm sitting and I'm thinking and it's not about strategy, about something I got to do, it can go down a spiral.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Reading actually helps. I've started doing that some lately, and I'm not a reader, so I read like incredibly slow. But just doing that sometimes will help. It's weird. I have a superpower, and that superpower is I can go to sleep whenever I want. And I'll wake up. I mean, I'm 40 years old, you know what I'm saying? So now I don't get the days of sleeping from 9 p.m. to 10 a.m. are gone. Like we get up, we got to go to the bathroom. We got to do something, And so, but I do have this ability. When I wake up, I can still do what I got to do and then go right back to bed. I mean, and it's like out, and there's a lot of people who don't have that. So, thank you, Jesus, for that. But as a performer, I don't have a lot of anxiety leading up to shows or leading up to it because I know I've put in the time. I know I've put in the work. But I will absolutely say there is something about the drug or the adrenaline or the high that you get from hearing applause.
Oh yeah.
And then whether it's individual or group, and you crave it. Yeah. And the hardest part of a show or being in a show is when you get off, and I'm this person. This is usually where I'm at my darkest, because I give so much of my energy. Every show I do, I give you everything I got. I'm dead focused. You've been in shows with me. I don't really goof around a lot. I goof around a whole hell of a lot during rehearsals. Right. But when it's go time, I don't want all this chitter chatter. I want to be lasered in, and because I'm very, aim small, miss small. In the things, I learned that from The Patriot. Thanks, Mel Gibson. And so if you aim small, like if you get down to the details, the likelihood you're going to make a huge mistake is drastically reduced. So I'm looking at all this, the specifics and everything. I'm running through things in my head, and you go through, you execute, you're like, hell yeah. bam, you welcome, or whatever, or thank you, Jesus, you got me through this, or however you're feeling. And then you go off stage and then you celebrate with your friends, and that happens for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then you come home and you're like, yeah, there's nobody here, and it's like, well, damn. Then I'll pick up my phone and I'll be like, damn, weren't we awesome tonight? Man, you were so good in your thing, and just trying to continue to have that euphoric high that comes. And then, eventually you have to crash, and it's that's where it gets, worse, tough for me, because I crave that so much. I'll do too much and I'll run myself ragged, always out there grinding hard to find that applause. Yeah. Whether that's, being in multiple shows at one time, like I used to do when I was a younger kid, or, jumping from one rehearsal to the next and not taking that time off, to not take that 2 or 3 month break, but like, being in every single show, I'm in, or whatever it may be. That's the thing that I would tell people, like, don't get addicted to that high, enjoy it while it's there, but don't get addicted to it, and understand, to be able to have that perspective to wrap your mind around all the work that went into getting that moment. Right. So enjoy it and absorb it. Right. But don't, you can't cheap it. You can't cheat it. You got to do the work to get that. Yeah. And so
I think that's one of those things, like you say, being in theater, and you get those post-show blues, like, oh, I can't believe I don't have to go to rehearsal now, or I don't have, and chasing that, like you said, you're like, well, I'm gonna just jump into another show, right? So and it's like, that keeps you. It's physically unsustainable, right? You stay
and mentally if you're really trying to be sharp, right? Yeah, because you got so much other stuff that you're just not concentrating on, because you're chasing that one thing, right? Oh man, I wish I was at rehearsal tonight. Sucks to be you. I am at a rehearsal. Too bad you're not in this show, right? Or whatever. Yeah, it's like, one guy fell out. Why don't you come in? Whatever. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's one of those things that it's real. That post show depression is real. But I think if you let yourself, ride through that and rest, let your body rest, let your mind rest from that, especially in a situation where it's like community theater. Not getting paid. It ain't your job. Right. This is supposed to be your hobby. It's supposed to be fun. Right. It's at the end of the day, this is your release. This is your chance to, shine and have some fun and be around that second family and do the things that bring you joy. But if you're constantly chasing joy that way, it almost sounds like you might be trying to avoid something else. And maybe there's a deeper something that maybe just needs to be addressed. I will say this, though, as somebody who has sought out counseling and has gone through some of those things. I've had, I'm 39 years old, and I've had a lot of great blessings in my life. A lot of things go well. A lot of things that I haven't necessarily, quote unquote, worked extremely hard for. And a lot of that's because of my position, my parents, the way they've worked hard, and some of it's just natural, talent, I've never had a singing lesson in my life. I can just sing. I don't know how. People ask me all the time, can you teach me how to sing? No, I cannot. Here's a name of 7 people that can. That's not what I do, And so, but I've gone through some hardships. I lost one of my best friends to suicide. Yeah. And, when I went through that, man, it was rough. And it kind of changed my mindset. Not that I ever thought, depression's not a real thing. I've always known it's a real thing. But it's almost like it was revealed to me at a depth that I'd never been to before, and how I would not necessarily like belittle it in the past, but would kind of do what you don't want to do. That's real. Let me give it its 10 seconds and then move on. Where now I'm like, no, if you have problems, if you have things that you're bothering you, or that you're not resolving, you owe it to yourself, your friends, your family, and everyone around you to work on that. I want you to listen to this. If you hear this now, you are irreplaceable. You are irreplaceable. There's no one else that can be you in the history of mankind. You are the only you. And to think that people get to a point where, they just decide that it's, no one's going to miss me, or no one cares. Those are real feelings that people have, but it breaks my heart because I've never been there. I've never been to that depth, but I saw it up close. But, please, 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 whether I know you or not, whether you know me, whether you think I'm a piece of crap or you think I'm a great person, whatever, I want you here. I want you here. I want those people who care about you to have you here. So if you have something that you need to say it. Go find help. There are professionals. The other thing I'll say is that friends, know when you're being a friend, when you're, because this is one of the things that I struggle with when Philip, passed away. Did I do enough? And I feel like at my point in my life, I feel comfortable with what I did and who I am and how I handled that situation. Of course, there's always things that if I knew that, I would change. I mean, absolutely. Right. Hindsight being 20/20, but understand that you're their friend, you're their brother, your sister. You're not their therapist, you're not their doctor. And there's a difference between being able to help them and be there for someone and being able to provide, clinical care for someone and encourage them to say, hey, listen, I love you. I got your back. I'll drive you. I'll make up whatever elaborate story that we need to come up with till we can keep this under wraps to however long you need it. But you need professional help because I'm not a professional. Right. I love you, and but I'm not professionally trained to do this. Right. And honestly, I'm probably too close to the situation because I found myself with Philip being like, he's acting completely normal. These other people were telling me he's off his rocker, and I'm hanging out with him. This is Phil. I've known this man for 10 years. For 8 years, this is the same guy. Well, Phil knew who I was, and he could fake it for 2 hours, or he could fake it for an hour. So I mean, there's just, I don't know. I guess for me, the biggest thing to know is that if you're a friend, don't be afraid to step up and tell someone that you believe, do it the right way, right? But that you love them and you think that it would benefit them to talk to someone. That's all you got to say. Or if you're that person who is struggling, don't be afraid to reach out to someone and say, I need help. Will you help me get it? For sure. It could be a lonely world out there if you make it that way.
That's not a weakness. That's not a weakness at all. And I think
absolutely not.
I think that happens a lot, especially with men,
the church,
that it seems to be a weakness to say that you have a mental health problem or that you're depressed. That there's such a bad stigma about that. And if you could just be honest,
Right. And it's really bad in the church too, because people are like, well, just give it to Jesus. I hear you, lady, but sometimes it's not that simple.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that people are given talents and abilities and training and edification, that, to use a Jesus word, to be skillful in the art of empathy and compassion and, counseling. I mean, God is the mighty counselor. So, I mean, if you believe that, all parts of the body are different, I'm not a counselor. That's not my shape. That's not my part of the body, but there are those who are, so if God, I mean, not to go all biblical and everything, but if God are the creator, let's just say if you're not a, follower of Jesus, the extreme being or however creates people with those talents, natural talents, then surely that was done with the understanding that there are going to be people who need that talent, so I don't know. I think people, they try to belittle it because they don't want to get into it. And that's a shame. And that's a shame. And it's something that I know at my church at Wesley United Methodist since Philip, we've been very vocal and open and honest about to say, man, we have bad days. We go through things. If you need help, we here are ways you can get anonymous help or any level of help you want. And it's not a weakness. It's a strength.
All right, Ryan, this is going to be the third portion of the show.
Bang.
This is the final portion of the show. We like to call it the Fast Five. Fast Five. I don't have a theme song. Fast Five. It's Fast Five. Fast Five. Fast Five. Fast Five. Fast Five. I've been talking to the guy that did the music, which the guy that did the music. Jacob Johnson did my theme song and stuff like that. I've been talking to Jacob.
Oh, nice. I love me some Jacob Johnson.
I'm like, I need a Fast Five song.
Fast Five sounds like a video game from Super Nintendo.
He's the Fast Five.
Going fast five. Fast five. We're going really fast.
So what it is, I'm going to ask you 5 questions from this app that I use called Poddex. It's for podcasters. It's like conversation starters. My friend Travis Brown created, but it's great for other folks if you just need like icebreakers or you know, you're sitting around with some buddies want to ask some fun questions. It's you should check it out. It's called Poddex. Matter of fact, if you use the promo code CHEW, you get 10% off your decks. But
what? 10% off?
That's what I'm saying. No wrong answers. I'll just have to tell folks there's no wrong answers.
I'm going to go with it.
Some people think that they're wrong answers. There's no wrong answers, but I'm going to hit the randomizer here and we're going to see what we're going to see.
No whammies. No whammies.
The Godfather or Goodfellas?
The Godfather.
Okay. Why is that?
Because there's multiple parts.
Okay. It's a day full of
right. Yes. It's not just 2.5 hours.
Right.
I mean, both have killings, both have awesome moments. You know, but everybody's just got the one, you know.
That's true.
You
That's
know.
true. There's some great lines from that movie too.
Yes, I'm Team Godfather.
You come to me.
Yeah.
On the day. Also,
I'm from Augusta, Georgia, and James Brown's Godfather. So.
Well, there you go. Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Multiple reasons. Hit me with the next one.
There you go. Is there any local dish or food product from where you grew up that you miss? You grew up in Augusta, though, right?
I did grow up in Augusta, but I can say one that I missed because it no longer is open. And shout out to Mean Yats and
yes.
13C. Okay, the sweet and sour chicken with the pickling. Bruh, I miss it so hard.
Yeah.
If you want it, you can go to New Ming Wai on Wrightsboro Road. They're the closest that I've found.
Okay.
But yeah, the sweet and sour chicken from Mean Yats. Shout out Jacob Belts because we used to go there and just devour it.
Really?
Oh,
really? Man, I used to love Mean Yats, man. And of course, now, I mean, there's like, what was it, Your Pie? And
there's a Your Pie. There's a new
Sheila's Donuts. And
there's a new Japanese place in there too called Tokyo Junior.
Tokyo Junior, yeah.
And then it's like this little artsy, crafty place. So, I mean, it's great. I mean, I like what they've done to it, but I mean, give me Mean Yats back.
There you go.
I mean, if you got to put it somewhere else, that's cool. But I mean, you got to do what you got. You know, you walk in, it's 6 o'clock. I need a damn soul in the entire building, but somehow they're open and they're thriving. Yeah. I don't get it. What's going on? But I'd sit down and eat a whole bunch of chicken. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was delicious.
That was the game.
That was the one. All right, number 3. If you had to cover one album from start to finish,
oh God,
which album would you choose?
This is the hardest question of all time.
You start to finish every track and you're going to cover it.
Oh.
What is it?
I don't know that I can lay them just one.
I'm going to need you to try and, all right, I'll let you, give me 3. Give me your top 3 or whatever.
3 okay. I can give in no order.
We're talking about every track. Every track.
All right. Parachutes, Coldplay.
Oh, wow. Really?
From 2000.
Okay.
You know, that's got Spies, Everyone Is Not Lost. Of course, Yellow was the big hit. Mm-hmm. The Bends, Radiohead.
Wow.
Oh, this is so hard. Oh my Lanta. Can I do a live album?
Yeah.
Okay, I take it back. I don't want to do a live album.
Okay.
I want to do Led Zeppelin's Physical for Graffiti.
Okay.
That's a double album though, so that's kind of cheating.
Well, I mean, it's all one.
Right.
It's all one.
That would be a hell of a lot of work.
But you'd be okay, track to track, everyone.
Yeah. That album's loaded.
Yeah. So what would be the one that you'd look forward to most on that one?
Either In My Time of Dying or 10 Years Gone.
Do you do any of those songs in any of your iterations?
I want to say Cashmere's on that record. I've played Cashmere before, and ironically, I think Houses of the Holy is on that record, and it's not on the album entitled Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin, which is a really weird thing. I know it's not on that album. I think it's on Physical Graffiti. Okay. They held it and put it on that album. It was trippy. Just for everyone to know, a fourth place finisher would be Darkness on the Edge of Town, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band from 1979. All
right. See, you're an overachiever. That's the problem.
There's so much music. I mean, that's if I can't do The Love Below by Andre 3000.
Oh, well, I see. That's another one.
Do the thing.
Going.
Another one. Do the
thing.
Going.
All right. Number 4. Do you have any pre-show rituals or routines? Now, this could be theater or performing.
I do.
Okay. All right.
Before I go on stage or before anything, I blow a kiss to my granddad. My granddad died when I was in college on December the 18th, 2003. And at the time, I still had both grandmothers. Since one of my grandmothers has passed away and the other one is still alive. So now I guess I blew it to both my grandma and my granddad. I didn't know my other granddad. He died when I was 4. But when I was in college, it just kind of became the thing, GP. And I'd blow a kiss to him and would just walk on stage. That's one. That's like right before I walk on. Like if you've ever seen me do that, like on the side stage or anything, that's always do that. And it's always my first appearance. I don't do it like every time.
Right.
And then the other one is I like to, when I'm in a rock and roll show, I like to close my door and have silence just for, 5 or 10 minutes. Can't do that in theater because you share dressing rooms.
Right.
Just 5 or 10 minutes. And I like to walk through the set list, piece by piece, thinking, hey, here's what I got to do. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. So that's it.
Okay.
But the big one is I blow a kiss to my granddad.
That's awesome.
Richard Earl Abel.
That's awesome. All right. And number 5.
No whammies.
Would you rather bring back Michael Jackson or Prince from the dead?
Well, okay. Listen. The person or the music?
The person.
Prince. And it's not close because he didn't do anything inappropriate with children.
Okay.
Just being honest, that's not a hard question for me.
Okay.
But no disrespect if there's Michael Jackson fans out there, but mad disrespect because I think he did it. But that is, I'm not the judge. I'm not the jury, You're good. And he's already received that from the man up top, in my opinion. But and not that Prince was a charmed life,
right.
But both musics are amazing. Both of their talents are. I just love Prince's. Prince was consistent. He was weird, but he was consistent. Michael went through crazy town on more than one occasion. But Prince, man, there's just some of the best stories I've ever heard in my life about Prince from people who knew him. Like Sharon Jones, a friend of mine, may she rest in peace. She told me a couple of stories about Prince that just made me giggle for hours.
Yeah.
And the stuff that Fallon has shared, where like he played ping pong with him at, Susan Sarandon's joint up in New York. And just, the fact that he actually did bring people in to have pancakes after they played basketball on the Dave Chappelle skit. And that was a real skit with Charlie Murphy. Like that really happened in real life. Like that just kind of stuff blows my mind.
Yeah.
He did cool stuff like that. He didn't build a theme park so a bunch of children can come hang out.
Yeah. But also he was amazing. He was an amazing musician. He was an amazing guitar player. And I don't think enough people give him credit for.
Oh man. Prince was an amazing songwriter
on a guitar.
Man, Prince has, Manic Monday. Prince wrote that. Was it the Bangles, right, that did that song? Manic Monday was Prince. Nothing Compares to You, Sinead O'Connor, Prince. Prince wrote that. I mean, killer songwriter. An amazing guitarist. I will say this about Michael, just so you don't think I just dog on Michael 24/7. Michael Jackson is honestly one of our greatest musicians talent-wise. And his ability to be innovative. And I think he was a product of the situation that he grew up in. And I watched one of those documentaries and one of his friends was like, don't take it out on Michael. Like Michael never got to be a kid. That's why once he got all this money, he was like, I just want to do things with kids. I want to be a kid. Right. Because his dad had him freaking traveling the world with the Jackson 5 as like a 6-year-old, man. Right. So like, He had it as great as he had it. He also had it extremely tough. And that's a trick for everybody to kind of think through. Like, just because you think somebody's living a life of roses and green grass, it ain't always the same behind the scenes.
That's true.
But I mean, Thriller album, killer. I will tell you a funny story. I know this is a quick hitter, but funny story. So did you ever watch the Prince video where he was, so Prince was like a ninja, pew, 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 pew things. If anything was on like YouTube or whatever, he had I think he just had like 20 employees that just sat on YouTube all day and found stuff by him. But there was this one where he was on a talk show and I don't remember what it was. It's like in the 90s. And the guy it might've been Arsenio Hall. Been like, yeah, so I heard, you were in the, you were asked to be the other guy in the Beat It movie, in the Beat It music video, where like Michael and the other guy getting like a little switchblade fight, right, yeah. And he goes, "You think I'm gonna play a song? And you think I'm gonna be in that old gay stuff? I'm gonna be in that." He was like calling it like a gay role. He's like, "I ain't gonna be in no other." I'm holding hands with another man talking about Beat It. Boy, I was rolling. It's on YouTube. You had to go find it. That junk was hilarious. He just kind of looked at me like he did like the little side eye thing, like, are you serious? I'm not, that thing. I was rolling.
That ain't me.
That ain't gonna be me, cuz not Prince.
Well, that's it. That's the Fast Five, and that is the show.
Well,
Ryan,
thank
you
man.
so much, man. I appreciate you coming on today. It was great to reconnect,
Sure.
see you face to face, hang out, talk about some of the old times and stuff like that. If folks want to keep up with you, where can they find you on social
The
media?
easiest way, if you want to get tickets, for the show coming up tomorrow night, it's Goin South Live. That's GOIN. SouthLive.com. No extra G because in the South we don't know how to spell. Not true. We just don't like the second G. You can still get tickets for that show, as well as you can get tickets for the show in Greer if you're going to be in Greer on September the 17th, next Friday night, at the Spin and Jenny. If you want to keep up with me, I got Facebook. That's really about the only thing. I don't really have my own website or anything like that. It's just not that serious for me.
Okay.
My Twitter and my Instagram are though at Big R Nation.
Okay.
Yeah, you're Big Rob, but I'm Big R.
There you go. Big R Nation. So folks want to keep up with Ryan. You can do that there. You can also, like I said, keep up with Goin South and stuff that they've got going on there and support that. It's for a great cause. It really is. Ryan, again, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me here, brother.
If you would like to support this podcast, you can buy me a coffee at the website chewingthefatbr.com. I look forward to the next time we'll have a chance to sit a spell and chew the fat.